Okay, so how did I get here? How did I get from a 1% chance of recurrence for the breast cancer that I had in 2022 to where I am now, which is stage 4 metastatic recurrent breast cancer in both my lungs and my bones? So how did I get here from 2 years ago being discharged from my local cancer center and being told by an oncologist that I had a 1% chance of recurrence? Here's how I got here. I have always been here. I've always had stage 4. Before they removed my breasts and all of the cancerous tissue, some of the cancer decided to migrate out of that area, out of that space, and go and live elsewhere in a place that we didn't know about, that in leaving no trail, leaving no sort of footprints or fingerprints as to what direction, no breadcrumbs as to what direction it was headed in. All that we knew was that I had lymph-vascular invasion, which is so controversial. If you don't know what lymph-vascular invasion is, go and Google a medical journal. I've cited some sources in the descriptions of some of my videos, but please go and do your due diligence and look it up yourself, especially if your own surgical pathology shows that you have LVI or lymph-vascular invasion was present. Because here I am. They stated, they being my oncologist, who I currently have, they told me the last time that I saw them, because I was very angry, rightly so. Why wasn't I given systemic therapy back in 2022? Why was I discharged and told, you're done, you don't need any follow-up therapy or even follow-up scans? You can just, on manual palpation and through clinically visualizing your breast area or what's remaining of it, you can tell if you have a recurrence or not. I wasn't expecting cancer to spread to my bones or my lungs. I had no idea that that was the path that I was on. So for 2 whole years, I've had stage 4 metastatic breast cancer and I've been unaware. There were signs though. There were signs, people. I'll take you back in time here to 2021, October of 2021. I was having thyroid issues. I had a thyroid biopsy. In preparation for that thyroid biopsy, I had a CT scan. This was a mere 6 weeks prior to receiving a diagnosis of a malignancy in my left breast. So the CT scan was for visualizing my thyroid as well as some of my chest region. Incidentally, that CT scan that was taken in October of 2021, even though I had just a couple of weeks later found out that I had a malignant tumor in my left breast, that CT scan did not show a malignant tumor in my left breast. It did not show a tumor in my left breast at all. Why, you might ask? Because CT imaging is not the cornerstone of diagnostics for breast cancer tumors. Anyways, I digress. So I had a CT scan for my thyroid, which showed I had some sclerosis of my T2 vertebrae. So your T2 vertebrae, your thoracic vertebrae, it's like somewhere in the middle of your back. Like think where your bra strap hits your back, right in the middle of there. So I thought in my mind, oh, that must be like arthritis forming. I'm in my 40s. People get arthritis, right? That's what sclerosis is. I mean, I don't have multiple sclerosis. I don't have that diagnosis. So why would I have sclerosis in my thoracic number 2 vertebrae? It was never looked at further. I didn't have a bone scan. I didn't have a biopsy of my vertebrae. I didn't have another x-ray to try to further characterize that T2 vertebrae sclerosis. It was just sort of ignored. But a mere 6 weeks later, I would be found to have a known malignancy in my left breast on biopsy. So if we want clinical context here, folks, just think of it this way. If on that reason for ordering the CT, it stated that there was a history of malignancy, lymphoma, in 1994, plus a known malignancy in the breast, you bet your bottom dollar that T2 sclerotic disc in my back, in my spine, would have been further characterized. Because now that my entire spine is completely full of cancer, they're just assuming that the T2 sclerosis is all a part of that. Now, if you want to go back even more, when they removed the cancerous breasts, no, I didn't have both breasts involved, just the left breast. So let's just be clear here. Very, very small tumor in my left breast, but I had a bilateral mastectomy because my surgical oncologist told me that if I didn't do that, that the cancer would probably grow again in my right breast as well, due to my history of chest radiation. So both breasts removed. Clinical context here, after having my double mastectomy, my margins were not clean. I had to go back a week later and they went in again and removed more tissue until they could get clean margins. So that should have been clue number one. My history of chest and neck radiation should have been clue number two. My history of prior malignancy should have been taken into consideration. The fact that I had LVI or lymph-vascular invasion should have been taken into consideration. All of these should have been factors that should have been compelling enough to convince a oncologist to give me preventive chemotherapy or preventive systemic therapy. So maybe if I had have been on the ribo 2 years ago, maybe I wouldn't have. So sure, it wouldn't change the diagnosis or the treatment, okay? Let me be clear here. Stage 4 would have likely been my initial diagnosis. Would it have changed the treatment? No, but the timing is so important. A lot of people don't know this, and it's already 7 minutes into this video, so I doubt anyone's sticking around, but for those of you who have, quick little fact here. When you are looking at overall survival and the data, it is not retrospective. So when you are calculating somebody's overall survival, it's based on discovery, not retrospectively. So for me to go back in time and say, well, we need to now account for this 2 years that we've been unaware that I've had stage 4 metastatic breast cancer and figure that into the timeline for how much more time on earth I have. Now with the ribo versus chemo, we know that it gives you on average about 12 more months of life. The average overall survival is only about 5 years. So are we looking at me only having 3 more years? No. According to my oncologist, overall survival is not calculated retrospectively. Like I said, it's calculated based on the time of discovery. So because it's 2024 and we've discovered my stage 4 metastatic breast cancer in 2024, the overall survival pegs me at surviving another 5 years. Okay, so why don't we just pretend like I never found it? Why don't we just pretend like we don't know that I have cancer? Doesn't that then mean that, like, I don't know, the math ain't mathin'? You guys figure it out, put it in the comments, start a conversation there, because I can't figure it out. But that's all from me. Going to go watch an Oilers game. Bye.